Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about my favorite gaming handheld, and it just got a whole lot better. If you're a fan of the Steam Deck, and if you've got a Steam Deck, you're probably going to be really excited about this feature. It should have had it from the get-go, but it's got it now. And that is display off downloads. So they say here, today we are adding a new feature to Steam Deck, enabling it to complete all active downloads in a new display off low power mode before going to sleep. This feature is enabled by default when the Steam Deck is plugged into power and can also be enabled on battery power in settings power. They go on to say here, display off downloads are accessible in two ways. While the Steam Deck is downloading content, pressing the power button will now bring up a new dialog asking whether you'd like to continue downloading with the screen off. Select continue and Steam Deck will go into the new low power download mode. In addition, Steam Deck will automatically go into this mode after an idle timeout. On top of that, because yes, there's more, they say while in this mode, if you press a button or move Steam Deck, a new status screen will be shown with the download progress. From here, you can fully wake the Steam Deck or let it continue downloading with the screen off. That's going to be super handy just to check to see how those downloads are doing. And they do say though, when the feature is active on battery power, Steam Deck will automatically go into full sleep mode if the battery level falls below 20%. Now, from my understanding, this does apply to all versions of the Steam Deck, which is very exciting considering I still have the original LCD version. Anyways, here it's currently in the beta preview channel, and I'm assuming it's going to be rolled out to the mainline version within a couple of weeks. I can sum up my reaction to this in just one word, and that one word is finally. And yes, the Steam Deck is my favorite gaming handheld, and yes, I'd recommend it over everything out there. I think the Steam Deck is absolutely amazing, whether you're looking for retro gaming, modern gaming, or a PC-like experience. And speaking about new stuff, next up here we're talking about Android and iOS and Nintendo. And Nintendo has just released a brand new app here titled Nintendo Store. As most of you have probably already guessed, yes, this is a store for Nintendo. You can browse Switch and Switch 2 games on it, systems, accessories, and other merchandise. And there's more stuff here too. You can add products to your wish list, you can stay up to date on games and events, and you can also view your play activity for the Switch, the 3DS, and yes, even the Wii U. However, there is a catch. So they say here you can sign in with your Nintendo account to see your Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch play activity. If you had a Nintendo 3DS or Wii U system, you can see your play activity logged prior to February 2020. It doesn't seem like it's actively tracking more playtime. And continuing to talk about Nintendo, next up here we're talking about the Nintendo Switch and the Switch fading off into the sunset. Now, we've talked about this in the past with Switch sales slowing down and also the focus on the Switch 2. I mean, it makes sense. The Switch 2 is the hot new product released by Nintendo. However, based on this report here titled Second Quarter Financial Results and Corporate Management Policy Briefing for Fiscal Year Ending March 2026, that was a mouthful. Anyways, based on this report, it does seem that the Switch is fading off into the sunset, but just clinging on for dear life. So they say here in an infographic, Nintendo Switch 2, the new standard for Nintendo Switch. Moving forward, software development will be centered around Nintendo Switch 2. And that to me is a very big sentence. I mean, arguably here, and this might be a hot take, but I don't think so. One of the main driving forces behind picking up a Switch or a Switch 2 are those Nintendo exclusive, the Marios, the Zeldas, and a bunch of others. Anyways here, they say going forward, we will shift our primary development focus to Nintendo Switch 2 and expand our business around this new platform, which means Switch is taking a back seat. However, they do say here, supply of Nintendo Switch hardware will continue if enough demand persists. Unfortunately, I don't know what those demand numbers are. Realistically here, I don't think anyone should be surprised with this news. The Wii kicked around for a while though, and I don't know how long Nintendo is going to keep supporting the Switch before throwing in the towel. It does seem they've taken the first steps to focus on Switch 2 stuff and put Switch stuff on the back burner. Let me know, though, your thoughts in the comments below on the future of the Switch, or lack thereof. Next up here is a friendly heads up. We're talking about a rumor for PlayStation that could be huge if true. It's worth pointing out this is just a rumor and it may have been data mined. But this person here says new symbols will be added soon via website and tool, but here are some nice new features from PlayStation. A kind of echo mode, PS5 PC games, and Cross Buy. I'm really curious about that Cross Buy button, and I think a lot of people are. Unfortunately, we don't have more information on the matter, but I have seen this brought up by a few different people, so it seems it may be more real than fake, but there's still a chance it could be fake. Either way here, I'm assuming as well, if this is true, that PlayStation will be announcing it relatively soon. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And speaking about PlayStation stuff and friendly heads up, next up we're going back a few generations and talking about PlayStation 2 emulation on Android with ARMSX 2. The last time we talked about ARMSX 2, there was a new testing version. And now that testing version has been released. So at the time of filming, the latest and greatest version of ARMSX 2 is version 1.0.4. And this is a relatively minor update with one big feature, and that is support for emulation front ends. Additionally, there are some game fixes and controller fixes in this one, and if you're interested and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, link will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. And continuing to talk about friendly heads ups and PS2 emulation. Next up, we're talking about PS2 emulation on PC with PCSX2. And it's being reported that PCSX2 now supports over 99.5% of PS2 games. For the most up-to-date information, I do recommend checking out the official PCSX2 website. I mean, they've got all of the compatibility data listed and easily sortable. And if I filter out perfect and playable, there's like 9 items. And duplicates, so kind of duplicates. I mean, there's variants of the same game on here. So we've got Driver, which is listed as just in game, and then Final Fantasy XI. Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XI, Marvel Nemesis, and World Series Baseball 2K3. I don't know about you, but I think this is absolutely incredible. PCSX2 is amazing, and just given the fact that the PS2 library is massive, this alone is a huge accomplishment. And speaking about PCSX2 and other ones, next up here we're talking about Modern Vintage Gamer in a brand new video I would recommend checking out. MVG has put out a brand new video titled The Best Emulators of 2025. Now, I'm not going to spoil the whole video, but there are some non-surprises on here. I'm not surprised to see stuff like PCSX2 and RPCS3. There is stuff like Ymir for Sega Saturn emulation, and there's some even more great emulators on there. Well, all of them I think are pretty great. Now, it is worth noting here that these are mainly for PC. MVG will be checking out some Android emulators in the near future and is looking for help for choosing the right Android device to test out those emulators. If you are interested in advising him, feel free to check out the video and let him know in the comments. And speaking about Android, next up we're talking about Steam on Android unofficially with GameNative. And GameNative just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, GameNative version 0.5.1 is the latest update. As for what's changed, we've got some fixes and brand new stuff, like adding in Box 64 presets for Unity games. They've also fixed a huge bug where DXVK was not installing for games unless edit to container was clicked and config saved. Moving on, and we're talking about Minecraft, and this is a really interesting collaboration that I didn't see coming, but I'm not complaining. Minecraft and Dragon Ball Z are getting together, and there's going to be Dragon Ball Z DLC for Minecraft. If you are interested in checking out the trailer, I mean, I really recommend checking it out. Again, like everything we talk about, link will be within the GitHub link in the description below. Realistically here, Minecraft has been modded left, right, and center over the years. There's been a lot of DBZ mods, but seeing an official DBZ collab here, I think it's pretty awesome. Will this make me pick up Minecraft yet again? I would say maybe, maybe not. I'm not quite sure. To me, it looks really, really cool. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And speaking about trailers, next up, we're talking about the Anbernic RG DS. Now, we've talked about this handheld a lot in previous videos, or maybe not a lot, but a number of times in previous videos. And pre-orders for this thing are now up. The biggest problem I see with the device, or the biggest downside to the device, is that RK3568 chip. It's not necessarily going to be a very powerful handheld, and I would argue that 3DS emulation on this is next to non-existent. Now, I don't know about you, and maybe this is a hot take, but for a couple of extra bucks, I wouldn't have minded if they put in a little bit more powerful of a chip. I think they had an opportunity to make a device that I think would have been loved by a lot of people. I mean, it looks a lot like a DS. Just this chip here, I think, is really holding back the device. Now, taking a look at the comments on that video, and it seems as if my hot take really isn't that much of a hot take. This person says, I can't imagine releasing a device with such specs for $100 in 2025. Once you get over whatever you were smoking, I hope the RG2DS with a fresh mind will be much better and at a reasonable price. The only good thing about the device is that it looks like an NDS. And this person here, so close if it weren't for the RK3568. I guess we have to wait for the Anbernic RG 3DS to make an appearance down the line. On top of that, I'm seeing some comments here taking shots at the screen. 640 by 480 is not HD, Anbernic, it is SD. And my enthusiasm went from up to down seeing those disappointing specs. HD screens, where the resolution is only 480p. And speaking about interesting devices, next up we're talking about Ayaneo and the Pocket Vert. Pretty sure it's Vert and not Vert, like green in French. Anyways here, I'm guessing Vert means vertical. Taking a look, there's a brand new trailer on YouTube, and feel free to check this one out. They're calling it the Ayaneo Pocket Vert, the ultimate creation for retro handheld enthusiasts, coming soon. It's worth pointing out, and you probably already know this, I think we've talked about this device before, but this is not their latest announced smartphone. This is a completely separate thing. And taking a look at this, and maybe this is a hot take, but I don't at all like the looks of this. I don't like the one sheet of glass with the buttons kind of just inlaid in there. I really don't like this at all. But who knows, maybe you do. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below in terms of the overall design. Now, here are some of the specs, and if you were thinking that this may be an affordable device, you might be mistaken. We'll have to wait and see. I haven't seen the pricing just yet. But here are the specs from Ayaneo, the creation for retro handheld enthusiasts, Ayaneo Pocket Vert. Crafted for vertical retro handheld lovers, CNC machined body, diamond cut shoulder buttons, 3.5-inch LCD 1600 by 1440 with 615 ppi. A premium collectible for retro gamers, keyword premium. Taking a look at the comments and reactions to this device seem relatively mixed. I mean, this person says, stunning, I must have it. This person, I agree with this one. The controls on the front look like you need to wipe them off. This person says $1 million. This person here says premium, but without the analog sticks, WTF. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below and what you predict the CPU on this is going to be. And speaking about mixed reactions, next up we're talking about not mixed, but reactions. We're talking about negative reactions and Sonic Rumble. So Sonic Rumble has just launched on Steam here to a mostly negative review score. Now this game is free to play, however there are paid elements in the game, and Sonic Da Hog here says the game is not recommended. In what world can you get a whole fully featured, actually fun racing game for less than the price of 2 skins? Here. And Candle says, delays game by a year with zero communication from devs for several months at some points. Testers get all the rewards, leaving normal players with no way to even the playing field. $10 to $60 skins, pay-to-win skins. FOMO farming with constantly rotating skins and claw machine loot box gambling. Kernel-level anti-cheat for a mobile game. Taking a look at the rest of the comments here, and they do seem to follow similar sentiments. If you've played Sonic Rumble, I haven't yet. If you have, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts if it's a better suited mobile game or better suited for PC. And speaking about PC stuff, next up we're talking about the unofficial Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time PC port, the Ship of Harkinian. And the Ship of Harkinian just got a brand new update to Copper Bravo version 9.1.1. Now this update comes relatively hot off the heels of version 9.1.0, so this is mainly a bug fix release. But there are a bunch of fixes to Rando. And speaking about updates, next up we're talking about Felix 86, and if you're a fan of RISC-V, you're probably well aware of Felix 86. I mean, they say here, run x86 and x86-64 games on RISC-V. We've talked about Felix 86 a number of times on this channel, and it just got a brand new update to 25.11. If you are interested in this one, I'd recommend checking out their changelog for absolute specifics and a lot of detail here. At a very high level, they have implemented SSE 4.2. and also made some optimizations. And there's also a link to their YouTube video here where they talk at the RISC-V Summit in North America. And speaking about updates, next up we're talking about DOSBox Pure, which is a fork of DOSBox, an emulator for DOS games, built for RetroArch Libretto, aiming for simplicity and ease of use. And DOSBox Pure got a brand new update. Now it is worth noting this update applies to DOSBox Pure and DOSBox Pure Unleashed, which is the non-RetroArch version. And 1.0 Preview 4 is the latest and greatest update. So for DOSBox Pure Unleashed, they've added an option to start with the mouse lock. They've added support for shutting down the program via the start menu. They've added a choice here. Stretch the display to fill the whole window, ignoring any content aspect ratio to the video. I can't wait to see the screenshots from that one. And there's even more stuff here. And for the standard version of DOSBox Pure, there's a whole bunch of fixes and even more, adding support for Win9X, VMware Mouse Driver, and even more. Again, if you wanted to learn more about either of these, like everything we talk about, links are within that GitHub link in the below. And last up here is a friendly heads up. If you're a fan of retro achievements, you're probably well aware of Bounty Hunter's villains. Anyways, the newest villain is Ganondorf. If you want to learn more about Bounty Hunter's villains, I would recommend checking out the Retro Achievements website. This goes from September 10th to March 3rd, 2026. And there's a whole lot of, in my opinion, really cool and interesting stuff here. The last one is defeat Ganon in Death Mountain in the first quest. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.